Okay, I'm gonna do that. I am going to.
Hi, Celica Diaz. Great to see you.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, just to let you know, Scott and Margarita, I'm still going to bring popcorn, okay? Give you your popcorn and chocolates, okay? Just in case you were wondering and Code was wondering, let Alvaro know, yeah, you're going to get the popcorn.
That's so thoughtful of you. Thank you. Our staff enjoy that very much when we put it in the break room.
Oh my goodness, I tell you. I chaired the Historic Resource Commission, and we had 17 properties go on our register with the Mills Act, some with and without the Mills Act, because we lowered the fees, application fees, and we're now meeting every other month because we expect the demand rather than 4 times a year.
That's wonderful.
And the meeting, I tried to, get everything done in the organized fashion, lasted 3.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Just excuse me, just for 1 minute, Alberta. For those of you who are joining us, this is the meeting of the South Main Corridor, Wednesday, November 4th, 2020 in the city of Santa Ana. Our meeting will be starting shortly. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, Alberta, I'm back. I just needed to make that announcement just for people who are joining and coming in from the waiting room.
Oh, no, but it's exciting that we have properties now who couldn't afford to go in the historic register are now coming through. And like I told the commission, I'm going to be meeting with the African American community in the central core of the of our city, because that's where back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, that's where they had their businesses, their homes. We have the oldest Masonic temple in all of Orange County in Santa Ana, and that's the Willie Kimbrough. That's off on 3rd Street, and he's still alive. He's 107 years old.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So,
we saw a map of the spatial distribution of all of those Mills Act designated properties, and they're really, there's representation throughout the city, which is wonderful.
And we're going to be getting more, that's why for 5 years, we worked very hard with the city to get those fees down, because you now have the east side of the city. You got Logan, east side, and all of those neighborhoods, and then the west side, and then the southwest coming down, moving toward south of 1st Street and all the way down,
Yes.
that we need to preserve. Hello.
Okay. Narcy,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that you're ready to go on the interpreting.
Yeah, the only thing is, I saw the interpreting button on the monitor earlier, but I don't see it now. And let me see. Am I listed as an interpreter now?
Yes. Let me let me refresh that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, Margarita, for some reason, I have the interpretation globe now at the bottom of my control panel, just letting you know.
And I don't, so I think something happened. Let's see. I think I'm no longer the host. That's what happened. So maybe, Scott, if you can add Narcy in that globe area.
It does indicate that you're a host, actually. Let's see.
Okay.
And it does indicate that Narcy is an interpreter.
Okay, I see something. Can I test the Spanish real quick?
Yes, Scott, can you,
Okay.
Yes.
go ahead, Scott, and move into the Spanish, and we'll get
Okay.
started soon, team. Just give us like a minute or so and we'll get started.
I'm gonna say something in Spanish. Who can hear me?
Scott, I can.
Okay. Buenas noches, estamos en la Junta de Comlink. Can you hear me?
Buenas noches, estamos en la
Yes.
Junta de Comlink.
Narcy, you
Okay.
have to, Narcy, it's Margarita,
Yes.
you have to select the, with the interpreting, you have to select the Spanish, just like we did yesterday.
Yes, I just did. I just did that.
All right.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. We wanted to welcome residents and any business contacts from the South Main Corridor from First Street to south of Warner. This has been a meeting in the making. I think many of you have inquired about an opportunity to convene the neighborhoods along the South Main Corridor for some time, even during this pandemic. And so we just wanted to thank you for your patience. We know that are so many priorities. And I did want to acknowledge some of the neighborhood leadership that are on the call. So we have Celica Diaz. Right now she's had to unmute herself, but she's with the Pacific Park Neighborhood Association. Welcome, Celica. We have Vivian Martinez, who's there she's the chairperson with the Delhi Neighborhood Association. Thank you so much, Vivian. Who else do we have on the call from the South Main? Do you recognize anyone else, Scott? Oh, we have Karla Juarez. Hi, Karla, with Heninger Park Neighborhood Association.
Yes, Margarita, it looks like Jose Rea has joined the call.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome, Jose Rea.
Thank you.
Oh, there you are, yes. And then do we have anyone else from Madison Park?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We also want to acknowledge Alberta Christy, Historic Resource Commissioner, participating as well.
Yes, thank you, Alberta, for connecting and for being part of this call. Do we have anyone from Wilshire Square? Anybody from the Wilshire Square neighborhood? I know that they have their general meeting at 7 o'clock, so that they may be gearing up for that. Great, and we have some other callers. We have Jose Castañeda. We have Juan. We're interested in knowing what neighborhoods you're with. Jose Castañeda. Oh, Esther. Okay, so Esther just provided a message on the chat. Hi, we are from Wilshire Square. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So the first topic that we have on the agenda has to do with animal services. So we received a lot of inquiries and concerns from several of you or from some of your neighborhoods regarding the sightings of coyotes and what can the city do, especially if they're attacking someone's pets, and what are the options there. So we do have we were able to confirm Sergeant Jorge Lopez with the police department. He is on the line right now. And so I first wanted to share information that Animal Services provided. They have, one of their staff persons, Fernando Castro, who is on the line, and he's, in terms of the inquiries, he's provided information, and I'm going to review it, and then we can turn it over to Sergeant Lopez. But there were some questions that were shared that had to do with who's responsible, for who's responsible for addressing any coyote sightings or even enforcement of it. And so what Officer Castro from Animal Services said is that they follow recommendations from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. So pretty much if somebody calls their office, they check the area, they'll see the coyote, they'll chase it, but they would not be able to remove it because it's protected. That animal's protected as part of the state Department of Fish and Wildlife. So the recommendation that Animal Services is sharing is that neighbors keep their small pets inside, especially during the night, and that they supervise their small pets when they're taking them out to the backyard or to the front for a walk. It's just that that's a target for coyotes that are being seen like in the area, especially for any animals that are unattended. There's some material that Animal Services provided regarding the Orange County shelter. They keep track of calls for service. And that's something that our Animal Services will do. And in terms of a coyote management plan, that was another inquiry. We were informed that we do have a management plan. However, we in terms of Animal Services would not be removing coyotes. And again, just reminding neighbors to keep your pets inside. Lastly, feral cats, small rodents, small dogs that are running loose are easy prey for the coyotes. And so Animal Services will pick up the remains. However, the only time that a coyote would be removed is if it were to bite a person. And so that's very rare, but the Department of Wildlife would be responsible for doing that. So just after sharing this information, I did want to turn it over to Sergeant Lopez to add anything else. And if some of you have questions, he can definitely be available to address it.
Hello, how you guys doing? Margarita basically mentioned just about everything. I'll start with saying that there is a coyote management plan, and essentially it was just started, or it just kind of implemented earlier this year when I took over the unit. But as you guys know, with the whole COVID, we haven't been able to go out there and actually, because part of the plan is just education. As Margarita mentioned, now our Animal Services officers do respond to calls for service or calls where coyotes have been sighted, but we typically won't attempt to capture it or anything like that, and typically they're gone before our officers even get there. So we do respond. Now, if like Margarita mentioned, if a coyote actually bites, or whether it be a human or a dog, then they do respond, and actually we would contact Fish and Wildlife, and they would actually come out here and they would make every effort to not only capture, but if they have to euthanize the coyote, that's something that they've done in the past. So I don't know if there's any specific questions as maybe the numbers that you can contact if we see sightings. Our biggest thing. So with that being said, I mean, as far as enforcement goes, we really don't do much since the coyotes are protected animals, but we will respond if there's sightings.
Okay, so let's see, we can, if anybody has a question or they want to speak, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. So let's see, Jose Rea from Madison Park. I know that Leonel sent us like a video clip of kind of about some coyotes attacking, some pets in the area. So has that come up with other neighbors, Jose, from Madison Park?
No, Margarita, I think that was pretty gruesome, that picture that
yeah,
Leo put up, because it seemed like it was a portion of a leg of a small dog. But no, they've been sighted somewhere around the Orange, Orange Heninger, bike trail area. But other than that, we haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Yeah, the coyotes typically stay within the Santiago Creek, sometimes even in the Santa Ana riverbed. It's rare that they actually are on the streets, but it's not something that is impossible. By chance, do you know about that incident you just mentioned? Was that something that was reported to the police or to the animal services?
You know what? I can forward the video, or it wasn't a video, it was kind of like a snapshot. I'll send that to you right now as we're moving through the question. So Alyssa, as I'm forwarding that to Sergeant Lopez, did you want to remind me how to ask questions?
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys can remain on mute until we, pick you to speak, that would be great. Yeah, use the raise your hand feature. So to let us know that you want to unmute yourself and speak, and then just wait until we call on you. That way there's some form of control over who speaks when. If you want to type in your question, use the chat feature. So just type in your question and we'll be looking there to answer any questions as well. And yeah, thank you guys.
So does anyone else have a question regarding the coyote sightings and the concerns? I know that Sandra Pochapena had brought that up like as a recurring issue. Oh wow, it seems like somebody's is playing music and it's being disruptive. So yeah.
Just to try to do mute all, and I think I gave a checklist of what you need to disable on the host computer. You disable screen share, disable renaming. This is Pocha. I'm here in Victor Payan, by the way.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Sandra.
And my question about the coyotes was if anybody from the city was going to be checking like the parks, like they might be burrowing and making a den there, just to think about maybe trapping them and taking them back into the canyons or something. Because I think there was a severed dog foot that somebody emailed over to all of us.
And also that bridge over there.
And like that little bridge down by the park. I mean, there's a lot of places, since we can't use the park because of COVID, then that seems to make it more friendly to coyote family.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so this incident that you guys are referring to, I'm not aware. I know that there is, our animal services officer actually keeps a list of every time someone calls a sighting and what the response is on our end. I will look into that as far as if anyone actually even called, or is this something that is just coming to news on our end and pictures were being sent, through the community. So that's something of concern for us. Again, we always respond to any sightings, but we typically don't capture unless the coyote is actually has attacked either a dog or an individual.
So this is Margarita, and I just wanted to also share with the group that there's going to be some organizational changes, where the animal services section will be moved from the police department to planning and building agency. So that still is in transition, but it's going to be happening soon.
Margarita, so I typed a question. Who would we call to report then? To make
actually,
coyote reports?
I was just typing in the answer. So you can call the police department and you can call the public line. So that will be directly to our dispatch. And then they would send officers at that time, whether it be during the day or at night. So that number is 714-834-4211. And again, that's just our dispatch or public line. The other number that I would suggest you also call is our direct line to our animal services office. Although we're typically in there between 8 and 5, we check. You can leave a voicemail and give any detail as far as the time, location, and what, if anything, was observed. And then our animal services officers at 6 o'clock in the morning, when they come in, they check it, and they can go out there and take a look at.
And that's 245, what is the?
8792.
8792. Okay, I'm typing this out, everyone. Okay. Are there any other questions for Sergeant Lopez from Animal Services?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I unmuted myself. This is Jose Rea. So
Go ahead, Jose.
is it okay to ask the question?
Go ahead, Jose.
What about roosters? There's roosters around this neighborhood here in Madison Park that you can hear them every morning and every evening. Who handles that, and how do they handle?
Again, our animal services handle that, and it depends on depends on the incident or what the complaint may be, but they will respond to the residents where they're located, and then they'll take appropriate action if it's necessary. But again, that's the same the animal services office that you can call about that. That's the best. I mean, because if you call the PD, the public line, on a weekend or something, they may or may not email us, so we may not be aware of it. So if you can always have the community members just call the animal services direct line and leave a voicemail, then we can actually address it when they get to it. And we have animal services officers working 7 days a week, so usually when they come in at 6 in the morning, they'll check the voicemail. Go from there.
Okay, hold on. We have okay, go ahead, Sergeant.
So yeah, that's what I would. So I mean, depending on the complaint, it sounds like you got roosters. Are they loose or are they just in the morning loud? I'm assuming.
No, at one point there was somebody was breeding them, and it was between Heninger and Hobart on the bike trail. And in the morning they would jump the fence and they would be on the bike trail. But that problem was solved. They're gone. But there's one rooster near Madison Elementary on Hobart. I don't know the exact address, but we can hear them every morning. So, it's, again, I mean, we're not problems with the chickens, right? But the rooster is a different story because they can wake you up or keep you up at night if they decide to serenade you. So, yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I can send officers down there. I mean, if you can get an address, that'd probably be the best case scenario, because we can send an officer down there, but unless, they actually hear the rooster, more than likely it's going to be impossible to figure out where they're coming from. But if for some reason you can get a member from the community to give you an address, then we can send our animal service officers.
Yeah, we can pinpoint the address to you on a call or something. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you again, Sergeant Lopez, and we really appreciate you being available on such quick notice. We know that the PD team is like on alert right now with elections and all of that. So we do appreciate you being available.
Margarita, hi, this is Scott, and I saw that Irma had her hand raised.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't sure if Irma had a question or not.
Go ahead, Irma.
Hi, Irma, go ahead if you have a question. Okay, we're gonna mute Irma again, Margarita. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. All right, so now we're going to change topics, and we're going to move to another concern that was shared by several of you from the neighborhoods regarding the city's, parking lots on South Main, who maintains them. And it's also an opportunity to introduce or reintroduce our staff who's working with businesses, particularly in the downtown, but who's a great resource to be available. So Julie Castro-Cardenas, I wanted to turn it over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Julie Castro-Cardenas. I work with the City of Santa Ana. I serve as the Downtown Liaison, and I work for the Department of Community Development. And my role is to provide assistance to businesses in the city. Predominantly, the focus area is the downtown, but lately, because of COVID and the pandemic, and just because of the need, the team that I work with, we've been providing assistance to all businesses throughout the city. And I understand that there are some concerns with regard to the public parking lots on Main Street. The city owns two, one that's like on Main and Pine, the other one is like Main and McFadden. Both are small surface parking lots, and they were acquired with funding many years back. And unfortunately, that funding is no longer available, but we do our best in having a landscaper to clean the parking lots 3 times per week, and having PD and our meter techs monitor the sites, things of that nature. I know that it could be better and it could be improved, and we're working towards that goal. And we're also working with the different departments to help leverage some of those resources like extra cleaning, and looking at different ideas such as maybe leasing the public parking lots or selling the public parking lots to private entities.
Great.
Maybe I can touch upon, and then I can open for questions. Maybe I can touch upon the different resources that the city is offering currently to the business community. So the city has launched a CARES Act, or a page that's funded by the CARES Act. And this page has a wealth of resources, anything from rental assistance, utility assistance, to business grants, and then business resource hotline. We still have business grants available in the amount of $5,000 or $10,000. The pre-application takes about 10 minutes to fill out. And if you're pre-qualified, then we have you submit a full application. Those are still available on the City of Santa Ana website. And then if there's a business need of some sort, maybe brainstorming or talking through a business need or developing a new arm to your business, we are also available. There's 3 of us that can become available and schedule appointments with a business to talk about finances or talk about business models and figure out how we can keep that business afloat. We definitely value the business community in the city and know that this is a hard time. So we have those resources available. So that's my explanation for now, but I'd love to answer any questions or provide any other information.
Yeah, so I have Sandra Peña-Sarmiento. She's got some questions that she wanted to ask. So Sandra, do you want to go ahead?
Hello.
Okay.
Hi, Julie. So with the parking lots, we're really in need, especially with the redesign on South Main, of having, you know, public spaces and doing some placemaking to have gathering spaces for, you know, food truck pods. Maybe even we start, you know, we'll start up some kind of science oriented walk, you know, monthly walk in the summer down there on South Main. And so it's really important to have lots that are attractive, that, you know, the asphalt's kept up, but more importantly, also the signage. I'm trying to find a photograph of some of the signs on those two parking lots, because it looks like someone took a baseball bat, maybe 10 to 20 years ago, and just smashed them. So actually all of the letters are broken on both of those lots. Both of the signs are just shattered. They're completely falling to pieces. The tile's broken. The P in the parking is broken and half falling off. And so it's not really a question of cleaning, you know, it's just, we need to have some basic presentation and design. And since we're already redesigning the whole street, this would be a great opportunity, you know, since we're going to meet to talk about design. We had been talking about, hey, can I please have that muted, please? Okay. So, okay. Oh, great. I found the photo. So I'll go ahead and just share it through chat. But I wanted to know if those parking lots could be included in the South Main redesign, so that, you know, the neighborhood could kind of have input. We had talked before about maybe having a 1950s or Americana themed design on South Main, because that's in keeping with the history of South Main as being an entryway to the first drag strip in America that was called the Santa Ana Drags. It was very famous. And there's short films and a lot's been written about it. So it would be great to, and it's also very inclusive of all cultures, and it also embraces all the auto businesses that are on South Main, and they're on South Main because of that Santa Ana Drags that was very popular in the 50s through the 60s.
Sandra, can I just get clarification? So the signs that I've seen out in the parking lots, they're like, they'll say public parking, and then there's some like legal language on there, and they're white and they're on a pole. Are those the signs that you're referring to, or are you talking about the more aesthetic signs that say public parking?
Yes, I'm talking about large, they're made out of like a slate gray tile.
Okay.
And they're on the corner on the main side of the lot, and they once said public parking, but now you can kind of make out a B. There's a P and a king, and that's it. You can't read anything else on it. It's really it really. I've sent clients, they've asked me, sometimes people come from LA and they want to come down to Santa Ana early for a downtown meeting, and they don't want to pay the hourly rate if they get here 2 or 3 hours prior. So people ask me often, hey, is there a lot that's close to downtown that's a free lot? And I point them to one of these 2 lots, and it's every single time. I'm mortified because of the condition of the signage. You know, it's very hard to see. It's not like a bright poppy color. The general plan has a wonderful little color scheme with a wonderful logo for the city that says Golden City. Something like that would be really appealing, you know, for signage. But also it just needs to look nice, because right now it looks like very blighted, and so that reflects very badly on all of the surrounding businesses, reflects badly on the surrounding neighborhoods. It doesn't invite people to come and spend time here in our city, much less shop.
Okay, thank you. And as you were talking, I'm making notes, and I'm going to reach out to help us look at how much it would cost to replace both the aesthetic sign and then also just the sign on the post that should be legible. Okay, understood. And to answer your question about including those public parking lots into the South Main re-envisioning, I don't see an issue with including that. So that I would say that sounds like a great idea. Are there
I just wanted to add something. I know that Nabil Saba, our executive director for Public Works, I think in the future, once he gets plans or just something more definitive by the consultant, he is also interested in having a conversation with folks from the South Main corridor. But I think something like that, like what Sandra is suggesting, would probably be part of that conversation. So at least there's like, you know, some thought being given into, you know, once his ideas and what the consultant's providing in terms of signage, entryway, you know, visuals, how it also blends, you know, with what the look could be along the corridor. So Sandra's asking, where can she email photos of the signs, the ones that are like?
Yeah, you can email them to me, but it's not necessary because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
And I'll make sure to include not just the aesthetic, but other sign on the post.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Any other questions for Julie? Oh, let's see. There's a comment from Janelle. Thank you, Sandra, for calling attention to the ugly condition of our city parking lot signs. Those city parking lot signs on South Main Street are jewels we're so lucky to have. Okay, Janelle. Let's see, and then we answered some of the other questions. Any other comments or questions from the group? Irma Haragi, we know you wanted to ask something earlier. Did you have a comment or a question, Irma Haragi?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, finally, yes, I just had to mute. A long time ago, I made a comment when I belonged to SAMA, to the Merchant Association, and we had meetings with Gensler, that, oh, hold on, somebody's working here, that it would be very nice if somewhere on the codes, the signage code and ordinance down all of South Main could reflect the character of the corridor. Neon signs, you know, like the circle has beautiful signage when you're around the circle, that they're period in type, a lot of neon, a lot of that, because South Main is Highway 101, which is sister to Route 66. So it has that same feel and vibe. And when the signage, both of the businesses and what the city does, works together, it would just make it so much nicer. So it's just a visual that I have in my mind I'd like to share.
Okay.
So there you go.
Thank you, Irma.
You're welcome.
Hi, it's Sandra Pena Sarmiento again, and I just wanted to add to what Irma had to say that I've sent a couple of times, I think I might have sent it to our current planning director, some videos from Williams, Arizona. It's I think a really important city to look at because they passed a number of city ordinances regulating the design of public signs, of business signs, of lighting, of wayfinding signs, everything to reflect the history that Williams, Arizona has as part of historic Route 66. And like Santa Ana, they really used all of these design elements to really emphasize and market that historic, you know, city. So it really encourages like bike clubs to come and, you know, come and congregate, rockabilly festivals to come and have music festivals, retro clothing expos, and, you know, planning and historical society. So it would really drive a lot of tourism to South Main, and I think really showcase the architectural elements that we have in that corridor. So I just wanted to just emphasize to please look at Williams, Arizona, and I'll see if I can cut and paste some video links into the chat.
Thank you, Sandra. Is there anyone else on the virtual call who has a question for Julie or Downtown Liaison, who is also familiar with the work happening in the South Main corridor? So Janelle, we've seen your comments. I'm sorry, who was speaking right now?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Karla.
Thank you. I wanted to know how many properties were public property that are being sold to private owners. My concern comes from needing a space, like needing a public space, open space, green space, and having this public space that is already owned by the city, which in turn is already owned by us because we pay the taxes and we're the residents and we live here, and are being sold to private ownership, which they could in turn, have a specific, whatever they build, exclude people that are already living around those neighborhoods because they can't afford to go there, or because they just are not part of a golf course or whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that we have that information, Karla, like for tonight's meeting. But in terms of like the real estate, transactions, that are happening along the corridor, like with, I think
perhaps we can ask Julie Castro-Cardenas. Maybe she has something to contribute to that conversation. Julie?
It's my understanding that any city-owned property that does get sold has to go through a process. I believe that the standard process is the Surplus Land Act. And from what I've been learning, the Surplus Land Act basically allows, it's like a two-step process where the first announcement for the property is to like nonprofits, government agencies, and then affordable housing. So those are the entities, maybe there's more, but those are the entities that get first dibs. And then there's a period that is open for them to apply and propose to purchase the land. And if there's no takers, or if it doesn't work, the land doesn't work for those entities, then it gets the Surplus Land Act requires that the city reopen the process for private parties. And the private parties would need to submit proposals. It needs to work with the community, and they have to include, how much they would pay for that property. Typically, the city doesn't sell its assets, its property, because it's something that we use for the community and it provides a value to the city. So we don't typically sell our land, but obviously we do in some circumstances for development or for need or for whatever that land needs for that case. In regards to the public parking lots that we have on South Main Street, the goal is not to sell those public parking spaces. What I'm hearing from just the few comments is that there's an interest in using those public parking lots, and there's an interest in activating them positively. We are all for that. If we weren't in a COVID environment, then we could probably activate a special event very quickly. But because we're in COVID right now, special events aren't being allowed at the moment, but in the future, that's something that we can definitely consider. Hopefully that answers your question, but I don't have like a list. I think that it just depends on who what department oversees that land. There's like, for example, the Bristol properties, the vacant parcels there, those are city properties, but they were purchased through grant funds. So we have to go through a special process for that. And then I'm not sure of any other land that the city owns that we're selling, but I'm sure that there's a list somewhere, and we can probably provide that to you subsequent after this meeting.
Thank you, Julie.
Hi, this is Sandra Pena Sarmiento again. And Julie, thank you so much. I have a related question about historic properties along South Main. We have about I would say between 12 and 20 properties that are really beautiful examples of specific architectural designs, like just south of McFadden and Main on the east side. There's like a 2-story beautiful Victorian with like a carriage house, and everything's in pretty bad condition, but a property like that really should be put on some kind of a list and encouraged to be preserved, or to take the steps to be restored. Right across from that property, there's a really intact, beautiful Art Deco facade that is still completely there. And there's a lot of Art Deco and Gucci, from the 1950s, early 60s, kind of Jetsons style buildings that are along South Main, and they go all the way down to just past Warner. And just past Warner, actually, on the west side, we have the only remnants of one of our sugar plants. You know how we used to have sugar beet plants throughout California? The biggest one was turned into a hotel. We actually still have standing remnant of the edge of one of the other large sugar plants, and it's right there just south of Warner and South Main. So it would be really great, to kind of, can we compile a list of all these buildings so that the city can give them some kind of special care, or maybe work with the historical society to, contact those owners and let them know that they have something special that we value as a city?
Yeah, if it sounds like there's a couple of things there. If it's private property and, the owner has an interest in developing or rehabbing it, then certainly we can connect with that private owner and figure out how we can assist. For the historical properties, I want to say that Margarita helped me out, but I want to say that we have a designated staff in planning and building that has record of historical buildings and knows like what we can do and what we can't do, or what private parties can do or can't do. And I want to say Alberta Christy's on the call also.
Yeah.
She can probably opine to that. But if it's private, this is something that we would invite a meeting with the property owner, and we can have those discussions.
Yeah, I think something like this would probably just require some follow-up with the planning staff who works on historical preservation, but also probably an item to discuss with the Historic Review Commission. And so we do have representatives on this call from that. Scott, did you have any comments about that to add?
Oh, I just wanted to pass along the name of Pedro Gomez. He's a city planner here in Santa Ana, and he specializes in working on these historic properties. And so I know that Alberta Christy is on the line as well. She's on the Historic Resources Commission.
I don't know how to raise the hand. How do you raise the hand?
But Pedro is the staff who's very accessible. His email is, we'll enter his email in the chat for everybody, but it's p.gomez@santa-ana.org.
Thank you, Scott. And Alberta, did you want to comment?
Yeah, we do. For 5 years, the commission has been working to reduce the fees in order to put a property on the historic resource, so that it's just not north of 17th Street that could afford to be on our historical register, but also east, west, and south, of the city. And we have significantly reduced those fees because we have areas where you have, like Delhi, you have people that lived in your area and their homes are there, that have made significant contributions to the city of Santa Ana back in the 50s and 60s, that should be on our register. So I'm suggesting that your neighborhood associations, I'm not in your neighborhood association, but that you have a special meeting agendized, and we would come out, or well, not come out, but be on your agenda and go over the criterias, because of the fact that not only the buildings, as two of our commissioners, Commissioner Hardy, Janelle Hardy, and Commissioner Sandra Pendiente Sarmiento, who's on the commission, are talking about these historic structures. We need to preserve that for future generation. Plus, it adds value to your area. It does. Those homes just lift up the value of the properties around the area if your property is on the historic register. So may I suggest, Margarita, that you have agendas where the Historic Resource Commission, along with Pedro Gomez, come out and do a full presentation to go through, you know, what you need and how we classify each of these properties at one of your meetings.
It sounds like what we're hearing is that we need an outreach strategy to be able to connect this resource, right, that available to property owners of, you know, historic architectural properties that may not be aware of the value.
Well, business and homeowners. Yeah, business and homeowners, because, you know, like Logan, Delhi, East Side, Heninger, Wilshire Square, all of those, you know, of your surrounding areas there need to have these properties in order to not have them being torn down and put a apartment building in your neighborhood. That's one of the protections there. So
Thank you, Alberta.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll definitely bring that up so that it's part of the outreach strategy that the staff working with the Historic Resources Commission to follow up on.
Margarita, I see that we do have a few other questions from Irma, from Jose, and from Janelle.
All right, let's start with Jose Rea.
Oh, hi, thank you. Yeah, this is related to all the last three questions. And I'm hoping that Julie, you know, it's still available because this property is in downtown. You know, recently, not recently, but a few months ago, maybe even longer than a few months, there was a vote in City Council for the YMCA building. And the way it was a you know, decision made, you know, of whether this should go to the person that received it, you know, to make a hotel out of the property, or the other competing bid was the Orange County School of the Arts that had partnered with a nonprofit, Relámpago del Cielo, with the intent of dedicating some of the space, if the school was going to get the property, for a studio space for the nonprofit that is an institution, a 45-year-old cultural institution in Santa Ana that is in much need of a space. The council, you know, to no surprise to us, gave it to Mr. Hera to make it into a hotel, with the condition that it was going to give him 90 days to fix start working on the exterior, and nothing has happened. And so our concern is that, you know, what happened with whatever it is, a Broadway Tower is going to happen to this historical building. And, you know, should we just wait for it to go on flames like that church that went up in flames close by? And it's sad to see those buildings not being restored, not being used, and just for a real estate person to just sit on those properties, waiting for the right type of investors or the right type of market to sell those properties. And I think the city could do better with these beautiful buildings. I mean, it was just so heartbreaking to see that church that burned, you know, so close to that, because it was, you know, that could have been I mean, it could be so many things, and ended up being burnt to the ground. And so for Julie Castro, what's going to happen to that building? Because I mean, we're talking about South Main corridor, and when we attend the general plan updates, we see great plans and high rises. There's no there's no parks, there's no centers, there's nothing to the common walking, just more high rises and townhome and condominiums and like. And so my question is, what is going to happen to YMCA and also to Karla's question, the properties are on the main corridor and whether it can be used to the well-being of the community and not to.
Yes, so
Thank you, Jose. You were kind of breaking
Jose.
up, so we're going to turn it over to Julie Castro-Cardenas.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm on Bluetooth and it's safe, but I do need to drive because I have a class to get to at 7. So, Jose, you summarized that so well. And as a city staff, I want to be very respectful and honor what the council's decision was with the YMCA building. I have faith and optimistic that the YMCA will be converted into something amazing. I want to say that because of COVID, a lot of things have just been delayed, and hopefully now that we're getting used to, being and navigating in COVID, work and construction can continue. So with regard to the YMCA building, I know that there's been delay on that, and I will have to follow up with you as far as what their timeline is, the new timeline, and what the final result of that development or the rehab of that development is going to look like. But I think it'll turn out to be beautiful. Now, with regard to the South Main corridor, there's a lot of potential there, and it takes community members like yourself and other folks that have spoken previous to you to basically continue to push forward and be persistent and have communication like this, particularly now that the council is changing. It's a good opportunity to have a fresh look and a fresh opportunity to initiate this dialogue and really set forward plans and a timeline that we can stick to. So without saying too much and not, trying to avoid getting myself in trouble, I'll follow up on the YMCA building information and provide that over to Scott and Margarita. And then with South Main corridor, I know I'd be more than happy to help in any which way that I can for that.
Thank you, Julie. We have a question from Irma Hadagi and then Janelle Hardy. So go ahead, Irma.
Real fast, 2 points. One for Julie. In the previous conversations, both as SAMA member and as a neighborhood association member, we reached out to the city when you had that meeting here at Esqueda. And I told, what's the name of your senior planner? The very nice young man.
Bernie Carvajal?
Yeah, Bernie Carvajal. I gave him a wish list that we've written for several years, both from the South Main merchants and the neighborhood associations about ideas for South Main. And one of them was lighting. The lighting you have on North Broadway, downtown Santa Ana, to continue that from north to south on South Main, because it would be an element that would tie us from where the arch is, the historic arch, all the way north. And even with Hassan, I made that mention, and they were all enthusiastic, and they were going to follow up on that with the funds from the Peebler case. I don't know where that's at right now. That's item number one. Item number two, I was at the meeting at Mike's, original Mike's, and I did talk to Mike Hera about the YMCA. This is casual conversation. I love the YMCA, and I asked him what were his plans at that point in time when he would realistically be able to work on the Y. He said it would take him at least 2 years, because I belong to the Art Deco Society in LA, and I occasionally go to some things. One of the venues they use for their events is the Athletic Club in LA, which is a stunning building. And if we had that in our own downtown, something similar, open to the community, where the public can go, but it's also a place of business, I think that, and his eyes opened wide. This is just a personal comment that I approached him with that idea. Would you be open to that? And his eyes said, I am very, very interested. Talk to me about it, because he knew exactly what I was talking about. So I do have confidence that he has a vision, but COVID comes and other things happen. And he has, I know he has business interests elsewhere, but I have big hopes for that building. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Irma. And for one, I know that I'm going to share this feedback with, again, back to Public Works, Nabil, because he had expressed interest in connecting, with the team along South Main to talk about, plans for the lighting and for signage and things like that. So we'll be sure to definitely bring that up, and we'll circle back with Vernie as well. But these are all great, great suggestions to help preserve and enhance what you have right now along South Main. Okay,
Margarita, may I just interject just one comment about downtown Santa Ana? So downtown Santa Ana is a business improvement district where the businesses self-impose an additional tax. So they pay their business license fee every year. And then on top of that, they pay the business improvement district tax. The funds that they gather, it's about $200,000 a year. Those extra monies go back into the downtown for marketing, promotion, events, business consultants, special gatherings, and all these like different elements in order to continue to draw in more traffic to the downtown. The other thing that the downtown area has that generates revenue, not too much revenue right now, unfortunately, but is the parking structures. There's 4 parking structures and meters. So those are mechanisms to generate revenue. And that's how the downtown has continued to keep things afloat. With regard to the light post, the antique, we call them double cobra lights. Those are quite expensive, Irma, and I just want to plant the seed. Those are about $12,000 each. And so that's something that I want to just make sure that we know, so that moving forward, we understand what level of investment would be needed for that. But yeah, there's definitely a benefit to having revenue sources. South Main corridor would be a really unique place to have something to that.
There's already funds from the Peebler settlement. There's about $8 million or something like that. And that was in the list of possible things to do.
Hey, Julie, this is Scott. And before you go to your class, just real quick, Sandra typed in sort of a follow-up question regarding the YMCA. Just asking that when you check with your colleagues, that they consider commissioning murals for the boarded up windows at the YMCA as an example. And so that was sort of typed into the chat. And just wanted to pass that along to you, Julie. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Scott. This is Sandra Pena Sarmiento, Pocha. And Julie, they don't have to be painted murals. We can create digital murals like we did on the public restroom over on 3rd and Bush. And so, but if the Art and Culture Commission were to issue a call for entries for digital designs, then, those digital murals could be economically, produced and then mounted on those boarded up buildings. And if you make the subject be like the history of Santa Ana or the history of that area, then, you know, you could help make that building at least tell our story to everybody that comes down to use our court services, to come down and do business, all our city and county workers, all of our residents that shop, you know, around the area. It would at least make that building a huge historic, you know, storytelling monument until it's, you know, brought up to, you know, brought up to standards.
Thank you, Sandra. I wanted to pass it back to Margarita because I think we have a question, Margarita, from Janelle Hardy.
Yes, go ahead, Janelle. And yes, the comments are saved, Janelle, just to answer your question. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Janelle.
All right, I got it. Okay, thank you, Margarita. And thanks for asking that question. I know something I'm doing is I'm doing South Main Corridor from First to McFadden on the west side. I think if we each take a section, I'm taking the west side because, you know, that's the part that's Heninger Park. And you can even do it like Google Maps. You can get pictures of those properties that are on South Main, and you can even look around past the storefronts that oftentimes are deco or modern. And behind them, you'll find these intact on the exterior, gorgeous craftsman bungalows. And you can see those gables poking out over the top of the businesses. So that's my project, and I encourage each of you to take a section of the South Main Corridor and inventory it and get it ready to, for the next step, to have it listed on the Historic Register. I think that information's online, how to do a listing, or because anybody can list. It doesn't have to be a property owner, I believe. You can nominate a property to be listed on Santa Ana Historic Register historic properties. So yeah,
so that goes back to the question about more outreach, more awareness, and your suggestion, Janelle, is to let's start in small segments, you know.
Yes, we need to be active personally, so when that we have that information at our fingertips.
Yeah.
As things move forward, and we can say, oh no, that structure is X amount of years old, and this is the architectural style, and hopefully we've contacted or tried to contact the property owner, done some research. That would be the next thing, to see if somebody famous had lived there, or what kind of business had been there, if somebody, you know, had visited or spent the night that was a politician or somebody well-known. That would automatically get them in the running for listing. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely circle back with Pedro, and we'll make our director, Min Tai, aware of that. This is sort of the interest that's coming out from several leaders along the South Main Corridor.
Thank you, Margarita.
Yes, and I did want to circle back. Julie, just one more comment that Sandra had regarding just a different model other than the P-bid or the bid. And she's referencing in the comments in the chat, the Maintenance Assessment District, which is a model that's been used in Barrio Logan in San Diego, where it's more affordable, and it's a way to engage and contract local youth to do those types of services. And so she's provided a link, but who in CDA, I think, would be someone to continue this discussion on, to explore if that's something that could be applied with the businesses along the South Main Corridor.
Sure. What I've learned about those sort of initiatives is that this is the perfect start, is if the community is asking for X amount of things and there's a need for budget, then obviously, you know, one step is to request it from the city, like city council, city manager, during the budget season. But the other option, like if it's not a P-bid or a bid, it's a maintenance assessment, then that's also considered a district assessment. And the champion for something like that would be the council member for that district. They would be the ones that could help drive that forward, and it would need backing from the community, either from the businesses or the property owners, or a combination of both. And there's some technicalities, like it would have to go to a public hearing, we would need a vote, and that sort of process.
So the follow-up would be with Councilmember Peñalosa then, since he represents, I think, segments of that area.
Yeah, and I think South Main is probably broken up into a couple districts. I can't remember the new map. So yeah, you might need
we'll look at the map.
A couple council members to help the community champion like any sort of assessment district.
Thanks so much, Julie and Margarita, for answering that question. This is Sandra Peña Sarmiento again. And I just wanted to add, just to give an example of just how vastly different the structure is for bids and for MADs, is like, I think right now we pay, is it like 100,000 or 150,000 every 6 months for the clean and safe, or I guess the clean program, just for the power washing and the street washing, like around that ballpark. I think it's 300,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that so it's more than that. It's 500,000 a year, and it's not just like, you know, simple power washing once a week. There's a whole team, and they're there every day from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it's and that also includes security, and then, you know, they activate the downtown district for like special events and things of that nature for city events. So it's pretty comprehensive. Yeah.
The reason why I bring it up is because in Barrio Logan, the power washing, the you know, like a lot of the maintenance activities, those are all provided by urban core youth. So that community's own youth are trained to do those same exact services, the power washing, the trash collection, a lot of the maintenance, and even I think some promotion, but they're actually paid and they receive these job skills through Urban Core, which is a partner in the MAD in Barrio Logan. So just want to encourage you to check that out. And I know that I took Tram Le, who's over in economic development, down to Barrio Logan and connected her with some of the folks that run that district. And I'd be happy to refer you to the same folks. There's Scott Kessler, who used to run all of the MADs and business districts in all of San Diego, over 30. So he would be a really great asset. He's worked in Santa Ana before, and I just can't recommend that team down in San Diego enough. And they're certainly really wanting to come and engage with Santa Ana. So if you could help make that bridge happen, Julie, that would be so wonderful for our city. Thank you.
Yeah, in Orange County, we have a youth group like that, but it's called Orange County Conservation Corps. Great model also, very similar to what you're speaking of. And again, this isn't, you know, any sort of assessment district isn't something that staff could drive forward, because it could be, you know, misperceived that staff is trying to add an extra tax to a community. It definitely needs to be a community-driven initiative. And then the way that I've seen like Long Beach execute assessment districts, I think they have 12, is with the assistance of the council member for that area. But I am very interested in learning more about the MAD in Barrio Logan. I've been there many times, and it's a fantastic community. And of course, giving back to young people who could use the skills. It's a win-win.
Thank you, Julie. We know that you have to get to class very soon, so we really appreciate you being on this call longer than anticipated. So,
my pleasure, and no worries. I'm good for another few minutes, Margarita. I'm happy to
all right.
stay on.
So, do we have anyone else who has not asked a question to Julie regarding South Main or the downtown, or, you know, these are all, you know, great conversations with some leads. So, anybody else? Vivian Martinez, we haven't heard from you. Wanted to check with you, especially with Delhi being like a historic, you know, area, and you've lived there for many years. do you have any questions for Julie, or just did you want to share anything?
Yes, I do. Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Delhi Neighborhood Association. My question is, because we have the Warner widening project going on, and what that looks like now because of the COVID situation, with the homeowners on the second phase of the project, and where are we on that, as far as purchasing the properties, what that looks like after, when does the start date, what is actually going on? A lot of questions on my side of town.
Yes, yes. And I know, Vivian, we're trying to get something earlier, but we are going to have a meeting so that we can firm that up. And that way we can have Public Works just provide an update. Because I know every time that we've had a meeting, there have been more questions like, okay, when? And I think the homeowners have shared some concerns about, at what point, are they going to be affected, and who can they talk to at the city? So we will be able to work on that, just on that topic, fairly soon. And it would be with this format, so I would anticipate probably at the end of November, before we have the second meeting of the South Main groups, we'll have one with Delhi, and it'll focus on that topic. So yeah, so it'll be like this, but we'll have Public Works staff definitely on board.
Sounds great. Also, we have some blight as well as some of our storefronts on South Main, from our starting point on down to beyond Warner. And also our business owners, have had some serious concerns there with the homeless population and what is going on now with COVID, what is the outcome there on those concerns on our storefronts, because they bring revenue into our city, and we value them. We value all of them out on our end of town. Also the food trucks that are in the mini street in there that park on the weekends. And is that part of revenue for our city, or is it, I don't know if it's personal revenue. I don't know how that works with the food trucks. I'm really not too clear. And so we have some concerns in our railroad tracks. They're much cleaner. However, we do always have, concerns about that with things occurring there, and the trash and the blight, and in through the areas of where our businesses are, which is just past, I guess it would be Adams, into that little area of Goetz, and in between there, what that looks like for the Delhi neighborhood, because I believe we do go all the way out to Dyer. And also our area that's in where the hotels are. I'm not sure if we run in through there or if we're still connected, but that's also a revenue area for our city through there. And so those are my concerns tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this quiet time, with this COVID pandemic. So what actually is, what is on deck? What is actually currently happening in our area?
Okay. On the food trucks, so was it the ones that are parked like on South Main, or in the residences? Is that what you're seeing more of?
They're more in like there's a lot of them that accumulate probably on South Main, past Central, and then across the street, I believe, where that little Central part continues,
okay,
into that industrial area, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd heard that there was a business kind of deal coming in through where they were going to be able to sell food in this, maybe the builder's surplus, empty building, I don't know. And so I don't know if there's any clarity or clarification on that. That would be awesome.
Julie, do you have any, if you're still on, do you have any updates on that regarding the food truck?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so food trucks are treated like any other business. They're supposed to have a business license and also a healthcare agency permit. They do go through an inspection with the healthcare agency. Health and food trucks are supposed to be stored in a commissary area and not typically on streets overnight. I know that that's interesting because mobile food trucks that sell like hot food, those ones you don't usually see out parked on the street overnight. And the produce trucks, you know, sometimes those ones you see parked there for days. So it's just an interesting dynamic. But yes, so it's through the business license that the food trucks pay. That's how the revenue is captured on the city side. And right now the food trucks are allowed to park in public streets that have a velocity of less than 25 miles per hour or less. There are some other requirements that they have to adhere to, like not parking too close to an intersection. I want to say earlier this year in May or June, City Council approved a resolution because of COVID that would allow food trucks to park on private property. And so, like, let's say a food truck wanted to park on a tire shop during the nighttime, they would need to get permission from the property owner and then operate normal business hours. And normal business hours sometimes goes to 2 a.m. So, yeah, that's the gist on the food trucks. I think I saw a question saying, is there a map for food trucks? Unfortunately, no, but it would be a great thing. And that's something that the food trucks have asked for us to help with. And we're working on that now.
Okay, and how about the health permits or the, you know, the cleanliness of there now with the COVID, and what are there extra health safety concerns that the trucks have to abide by or through the city or?
Yeah, there typically any health code is provided by County of Orange, and they're held to similar standards as restaurants. For example, they have to, you know, sanitize, use gloves and things of that nature. Similar to a restaurant, I've seen that some food trucks are better than others. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. We have some questions on the chat regarding a designated area for food trucks. I know that that was something, Julie, that the council was looking at, you know, designating private or even public spaces to launch kind of like a food truck hub. Do you have any? Okay.
Yeah, you know, things are kind of moving, and this is in the works. The food truck, the Santa Ana Food Truck Association, it's comprised of about 30 food truck owners, but they have a good pool. They have like 50 owners that work together on that. Anyhow, they have been really asking the city for many years now for a designated public parking or a food truck island. And just recently, the city gave permission to the Food Association to use the public parking lot near Modern Day on Bristol and Edinger. And so there's 4 food trucks there that operate from 7 in the morning to 10 p.m. And they circle, you know, different food trucks come in and out, but they have to have permission. They have to have insurance. You know, they have to be coordinated, things of that nature. And there's a couple other food trucks that use public parking lots. One of them in downtown, not directly in front of a restaurant. But we're open to it. So I think Parks and Recreation is also working on some type of RFP or process to allow food trucks to come on to parking lots.
Okay, thank you. Janelle,
Sure.
you have your hand raised. Do you want to go?
Yes, thank you, Margarita. Just let me start by saying that I did notice on Chapman, kind of east, there, when I drove by a couple weeks ago, they had a food truck pod or hub or island. They had it under construction with some really nice signage. And yeah, so it might be up and operational now. So other cities are doing it. We need to do it. We have a problem with a food truck in our neighborhood. And so, all right, so that's enough of that. But my question is, I'm noticing these food trucks have their lights on again. And other places, maybe it doesn't bother me so much, but the one in our neighborhood, that's directly across the street and catty corner from homes. And, you know, that's a property value problem. Who the heck wants to buy a house across the street from a food truck with those lights rotating all the time? So I want to know, has that, I thought it was against code. Has that code been lifted? Does anybody know?
I think I can help a little bit. I don't know the code or the specific restrictions on lights. You know, certainly it shouldn't impact negatively any neighborhood or home or traffic. But if it's something that is bothersome to your home or your community, my suggestion would be to submit a code enforcement request online or call. And that way, code enforcement can basically issue a warning to that.
And should I do that through the app, the Santa Ana app, or
My Santa Ana?
I believe you can do it through the My Santa Ana app, or you can go through the city's website. There's a email and a phone number under planning and building code enforcement.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the food truck that Janelle is referring to, and it actually involves both the city's code enforcement and the county, because they have, you know, a generator, there's trash, or sometimes they're setting up the tables and chairs, and that is not permitted. So we frequently get a lot of, you know, calls about that.
Spanish.
Yeah, but
Margarita, I just want to clarify. So the food trucks that park on private parking lots are allowed 2 tables, and chairs and 2 canopies. But the ones that are on the street,
yes,
those ones, different rules.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you, Margarita.
Yes. Okay, so there's some more information on the chat. And this is bringing up the issue about homelessness. I know that Vivian had brought that up, and we know that that is a topic in itself. And our quality of life team was not available for this meeting, but they have committed to be available and to focus solely on homeless issues, how the quality of life team with the police department and other departments are responding to homeless encampments and transients along the corridor. So they want to make themselves available for you to be able to focus this as a subsequent meeting. But Sandra's observation is that there's a lot of drug use on the corner of Bishop and Cypress. And I know when Pacific Park had a meeting with the police department a few months ago, there was a growing presence in that area, but it seems like it's still out of control.
Yeah, this is Sandra Pena-Sarmiento again. And so I can get my video on here. So my question was again about maps. Hi, there I am. Okay. About maps. I was talking about earlier about the maps of the different food truck pods, that would be really helpful to have people make use of those areas and know where they are. But also I've mentioned a couple times that we need a map of where our homeless services and halfway houses and where the pickup and drop off points are for all of our homeless services, because it seems to me that a lot of them are located in our neighborhoods. And because we don't know where they are, we can't really keep track of whether they're in compliance, of whether like that corner on Bishop and Cypress, I've heard that that's a pickup and drop off point for homeless that stay at the halfway houses in our neighborhood. And that makes sense why they're there. But if there's drug use while they're there, that's probably out of compliance, but we have no way of addressing it. So it just gets reported as some random crime, and it's not random crime because it's connected to these providers in our neighborhoods. I haven't seen them north of 17th, but I've seen quite a few south of 17th, and there has to be some kind of data that shows you where they are, because each one of those has some kind of a permit to to carry out their drug rehab. We've had a problem with them on South Main, down by Warner, that there's some kind of like methadone clinic that nobody really knows what the name of it is or who owns it. And it's just been, I think, 5 or 6 years we've been trying to get a handle on that one clinic. And now we have this corner that might be, tied to some kind of pickup and drop off. And how can we start to even address that if we don't have some kind of itemized list of where all these providers are in our neighborhoods? We really need that, and because it's just getting worse and worse, and we can't. It's a moving target that we can't even see because we don't know. We don't know if a house is empty and it's some drug house, or if it's supposed to be a halfway house that's just not compliant. So
I wanted to check with my colleague Scott. Scott, if I know that's come up like with other neighborhoods when residents have noticed there's more of a concentration of whether it's a sober living house or, small units, but in very close proximity.
Yeah, so Sandra, thank you for raising this particular concern. I recall in the past that we had geocoded, all the addresses essentially of these properties, and then put a map together so that we could look at the spatial concentration of the properties to get an idea of where they were located. And so that's something we can follow up with our colleague, Melanie McCann. I believe she was involved in putting that together a few years back. And in addition, Sandra, we do have our homeless services manager, Terry Eggers, and she's always available, to us, and very open to suggestions. We've worked with her for decades, so we have a great working relationship with her. And so that's another, lead with regard to where the rubber meets the road and trying to get a little bit of traction around these issues so that we're able to improve the city's responsiveness to these concerns.
Thank you, Scott. So yeah, I know that the map, let's see, we'll provide Terry Eggers' contact right now. Scott, can you do that? So I think I'm trying to do 2 different things. So, all right.
Yes, I'll take care of that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, and so we will have an opportunity to invite, Terry, and this is actually really helpful so they know exactly, what the neighborhood leadership is expecting in terms of a discussion regarding homelessness, homeless resources, and also other non-city, homeless services that are being provided in the neighborhoods along the South Main corridor. I mean, it is a citywide map, but we can also focus on, that stretch that goes south of First to even south of Warner. And we can provide that. Any other questions? I know Julie is still on the call and I'm sure her class is gonna start very soon. So anybody have from the team has a last question for Julie? If not, thank you, Julie. We appreciate all your time for staying and we look forward to circling back with you. Thank you.
Happy to help. It was nice to see so many familiar faces. Thank you, Margarita. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Okay, so, and then are there any other announcements? Vivian, I did note what you would like covered, with regards to the Warner widening project. And so, yeah, we're going to be confirming with Public Works very soon about the Delhi Neighborhood Association meeting for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
And then I saw that Scott provided Terry Eggers' contact information for everyone to have. Janelle, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead, Janelle.
Yes, I think we have a neighborhood meeting on the 18th of this month. Do you have that scheduled, Margarita?
I do. I have that on the calendar. So yes, Heninger Park is meeting on the 18th.
And then Alberta Christy has prompted me to include on the agenda, perhaps Pedro could talk to us about the fact that our fees have been lowered
Okay.
for listing of historic properties and Mills Act agreements.
Okay.
So everybody here was probably going to be interested in that topic because we kind of touched on it tonight. So, all right. Thank
Yes,
you.
we'll be sure
I
to
invite all of you to listen in. Thanks.
Thank you, Janelle. Does anybody else have an announcement or any updates to share with the group? Jose Rea, are you still on the call? I just wanted to share the announcement regarding the rescheduling of the Planning Commission's public hearing for the general plan update. Initially, it was scheduled for tomorrow, November 5th, but that's been moved to Monday, November the 9th at 5:30 p.m.
That's all subject to there being a quorum at the planning
Correct,
commission.
yes.
And so
Thank you.
there was a lack of quorum last week, and that was the reason why the meeting needed to be moved.
Yeah. So if there is a quorum, the meeting will proceed. Thank you, Scott.
I have a question about that. The comments for the planning commission on the general plan, I guess planning element, they're due tomorrow, the 5th, and that hasn't changed, correct? It's still due the 5th, just the meeting's happening later, I would assume. Anyway, just to let everybody know, if you want to get any feedback, go to the city website, santa-ana.org, and I guess look up general plan, and there should be an element called planning. And this is a good time to let maybe the city know, how, that you don't want, 3-story buildings and, or 4-story buildings abutting, single-story residential neighborhoods, for example, or that maybe our parking lots might want to be zoned as some kind of multiple use so that we can make them little, kind of placemaking spots, that accommodate more than cars. So, I encourage everyone to take a look at that planning element, get your comments in by tomorrow, even if the meeting's not, tomorrow, just to get them in by tomorrow so that they can take your comments into account. And then I also just wanted to let everyone know that my nonprofit, MediaArtsSantaAna.org, is showing some free films for Day of the Dead in partnership with the Mexican consulate. So those are free, and you can find them at, Media Arts at masamedia.org, and I'll type that out in the chat. But they're really fun short films, and they're all family friendly.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sandra. Does anybody else have any announcements?
I have a question,
Oh, you have a
Margarita.
question. Go ahead.
The general plan comments, are they automatically, when we submit them, are they automatically in the, do they publish them? Do we have to request that they bundle them with the general plan so that other people can read them? How does that work?
So our understanding is that when the public provides comments to the general plan update, the document, they're incorporated in it. And that was the understanding even before, when we started having community meetings. It became part of even if it was like an appendix or an addendum to the plan. So it shows, it demonstrates all of the public comments that have been provided. And I think that's why you've heard our director, Mintai, share, like, please, it doesn't end at the cutoff date. We're going to continue to incorporate the comments and at least document that. I think your question might be, the recommendations that the community has, how is that going to be integrated as a change on the policy or, the implementation action? And so I think that is something that, working with the consultant to be able to synthesize all that and, figure out where to provide those updates. I think that might be more of the question of how the community's input will be integrated and reflected in what gets proposed to the council, because there might be some slight changes to the feedback that the community provides at the planning commission that will be presented to the council, and it might be different.
Yes, I'm interested in how they're incorporated and how they're integrated both. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And we will also circle back with our colleague Melanie McCann, just to, make sure that this is accurate, so that you and others know what to expect before and after the Planning Commission hearing November the 9th. Okay, anybody else? Karla?
Thank you. No, thank you. I was looking forward to tomorrow's meeting, but thank you for letting us know that it was canceled.
Yes, it's rescheduled to Monday. And that's pending that there's a quorum, because that was the issue for tomorrow's meeting. How about you, Celica? I know you had to mute yourself, so did you have anything to share?
No, I just texted my questions.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
All right, very good. Okay, everyone. So the next step in terms of the South Main neighborhoods meeting, we're going to convene again after Thanksgiving. So I'll be working with our police team and Terry Eggers so that we're just focused on that topic, and we'll probably have more participation from other neighborhoods. We know that right now with election season, things have been very, very distracting. So, but I think we'll call it a wrap now. Let's see, we thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you staying longer. But everyone's comments and contribution to this meeting is really, really important. So we look forward to working with you some more and making some traction on the discussions that you all brought up tonight. So thank you very much. With that, we're going to close the meeting. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.